for Empress is, yeah.
Okay. Whoops. Well, all my huge fans are going to see that. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. We had a little technical difficulty. Welcome to Lunchtime Live, the Latino Conservation Week edition. And so happy to have you with us today. I'm Anne Marie Tipton. I'm the education coordinator at the Tijuana River National Estuary and Research Reserve. We also have my co-host Jorge Ayón, who's our docent and our Hispanic Access Foundation intern. And we have two amazing Latinas with us today who've been working in conservation, some of us longer than others. And you get to hear from them today, which would be really awesome. So we've been doing Latino Conservation Week is the 16th to the 24th of July. And our first event was Sunday. And that we had Jorge gave a bird walk. It was bilingual, I believe, was English and Spanish. And they even saw a king snake. They saw a blue ghost peak. So they had a great day. About 16 people came out on Sunday. And so today is the second event that we're doing. So I'm going to push it off to my co-host, Jorge Ayón. Let's give a hand to Jorge. Woo-hoo.
Hey everyone. So thanks for joining us today. Just to give a little bit more insight as far as Latino Conservation Week, it's an opportunity to have the Latino community come together and demonstrate their passion for the environment, for natural resources, and to really share the great work that we've been doing across different agencies. So today we get to highlight two very prominent Latinas at the Research Reserve, and we're going to be highlighting their work history and sort of their efforts in environmental sciences. So a little bit of background just on how I came to work for the Hispanic Access Foundation and intern at San Diego Refuges is I really started off, just exploring the natural spaces at the Tijuana Estuary. And I came across a host of wonderful people, including Anne-Marie, Robin, Lorena, Maria, Brian Collins, and all of them sort of fostered my curiosity for exploring nature. And with time and a few changes in sort of my educational path, I decided to study biology and eventually took the lead on being a docent for bird walks. So that's been going on for about 3 years now. I've been leading those walks and really have made strides to invite the Latino community out into refuges and the Research Reserve. And as Anne-Marie said, we had a wonderful walk this Sunday. We got to see a lot of really cool species. So enough about me. I will introduce now Nancy Torres. And just to sort of give you a primer, Nancy Torres is a Margaret A. Davidson Fellow, and she is currently a graduate student pursuing her MS in Environmental and Ocean Sciences at the University of San Diego. Nancy has been conducting research on the Tijuana Estuary's ecotoxicology, and she is analyzing its past chemical contaminant concentration and does field work by collecting water, sediment, and target species for an assessment of current conditions. And she hopes her findings will help address ongoing pollution issues that affect the environment and provide insights for better management strategies. So with that being said, Nancy, take it away.
Thank you so much. So I can go a little further into my story. I'll start sharing my screen. Here we go. So make that full screen. Great. So to start a little bit with my family background, my family roots are from Michoacan, Mexico. But I was born and raised in the South Bay region of Los Angeles County. And because of this, I didn't experience many outdoor experiences growing up just because of how naturally heavily urbanized the area is. I still remember not experiencing my first hike until my senior year of high school and just being like completely blown away at the concept that people traveled so far specifically to walk around in nature, but I loved it. And going into college, I'm a first generation student. And so I was the first in my family to figure out like what it means to prepare for college in the first place and to figure out what was needed. And I was fortunate to have gotten the support needed through my Upward Bound Trio program in high school. And this program is for low income underrepresented students to be mentored and guided into higher education. being accepted allowed me to have SAT prep, as well as knowing how to stay involved and be prepared for college applications. And my parents also did the best they could in supporting me and making sure that I was able to be driven to whatever after school activities or events that I was needed to be able to best prepare. And so through all these efforts, I was able to get into my top school here, UC Santa Barbara. And I came in thinking I would do business because that sounded like a career that would end in a stable job. But going back to my start, I then thought to double major in communications and economics as a way of going into business. And I took a couple communication courses, but I found that I didn't actually enjoy them. I also found myself lost in my first econ course. But in the meanwhile, I knew that I enjoyed STEM courses in high school. And so I took STEM prerequisites just to kind of like get a sense of like maybe like different subjects that I would be interested in. And this came to my favor when I took the class that actually decided my major, which was environmental studies. And I remember sitting down in that course and learning about all the environmental issues in the world and wondering why we weren't all focused on doing something about them. And so I just needed to help in some way. And I immediately declared my new major towards a BS in environmental science. But I did this, however, not knowing any idea of what this would mean. And so I was able to apply to different research programs, and I got accepted into the McNair Scholars Program, which similarly to the Upward Bound program also helps you best prepare for to get into your first PhD program and kind of guiding you through the process of what it entails and like getting involved with a research program. And so through that, I was able to find a research advisor and lab to work with in the earth sciences. And so through the Valentine Lab, I was able to conduct my first research project on microbial oceanography. And so the McNair program overall gave me a wonderful support system and guidance on doing poster presentations, scientific conferences, and preparation for graduate school applications. UC Santa Barbara also as a whole brought me closer than ever to nature. I was able to have frequent jogs right by the coast with the mountains visible in the distance, ideally located for hiking. And there were also many eco-conscious events to be involved with, like tree planting. And in the middle here, I also was able to get involved with the Latinx Business Student Association. And that allowed me to be kind of closer to my community too, because being in higher education, there's not as many people you see that have some similar backgrounds, of underrepresented backgrounds. So it was really nice to have that support system as well. And as I was applying to graduate schools, I was able to extend my time at UCSB just enough to study abroad in Barbados with a year. And after coming back and waiting to hear from graduate programs, I was able to work for a couple of part-time jobs. And so I worked for the local water government agency from back home, the West Basin Municipal Water District, and also as well as interning for a stormwater consulting firm. And so if you can tell, I just love all things water resources and management. And just starting at UCSB, I had no idea what careers were even out there, but I was then getting a sense of the variety of roles that play into the environmental science field and water management. And so working on all these different roles solidified my wanting to stay working to better the quality of life of people as well as our planet. And I'm extremely fortunate to have found a way to do that through my work now with the University of San Diego. I'm a third-year graduate student now conducting my master's program with the Tijuana River National Estuary Research Reserve, which is supported by the Margaret A. Davidson Fellowship, which I also balance as having worked in another couple part-time jobs as the Equity Environment Fellow for the San Diego Regional Climate Collaborative. And now I've recently moved roles to now be the Climate Equity Intern for the San Diego Foundation. And so through all of these amazing professional opportunities that I was able to be a part of, I would not be here today if it weren't for all the different support systems and resources that I had throughout my journey. It was these sorts of programs that really helped me build the skills and experiences needed to get me to where I am today. And another point is that kids who grow up in underserved communities can traditionally be excluded from science due to race, income status, and educational opportunity. And so I'm grateful to be where I am today, but I also realize looking around every day that it's rare to find someone in my background in graduate school or leadership positions. So we need to do our part in making sure that these resources continue to be funded and continue to be built so that other students can also be able to help build that bridge and realize that they can be a scientist too and be involved in an amazing career in the environmental sciences that I was really fortunate to be able to have. So just want to leave it, and it really also makes an impact to help students at an early age to build that connection to nature and inspire them so that it is possible to become a scientist. So thank you so much. I'll stop sharing with that.
All right, that was great, Nancy. Thank you for sharing. So up next, we have Lorena Warner-Lara, and I'll give her a little introduction, much deserved. Lorena is an environmental scientist and has worked at the reserve since 1999. She is currently the assistant reserve manager, but her prior work includes 16 years as a bilingual education specialist and research assistant for the reserve. Lorena graduated from the University of California at Santa Cruz with a degree in environmental studies. She most enjoys fish monitoring and estuarine mud. I do too. Personally, I have worked with Lorena in the field, and she has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to IDing plant and native species. So with that, Lorena, take it away.
Thank you, Jorge. Let me first share screen. And as Anne-Marie said earlier, but prior to starting this, you'll get to see some 20th century pictures. So they are not digitized. I did my best to find some pictures. Okay, can you all see that okay? So
Yes.
thank you. So actually, I was really curious when Nancy mentioned that her family was from Michoacan, because my my mother's parents are from Michoacan. I had an opportunity to go there when I was in college, so that was really great. My grandfather came to Tijuana and worked as a farm worker in the United States through the Bracero program. And then this is, and I was really fortunate growing up to, I grew up in San Diego, so along the border region, and had gone to Tijuana a lot. My mom still has the house that she grew up in is still in Tijuana, and my uncles live there. And so we would go occasionally, but it was a very different experience for me. But in San Diego, I would say more so than Los Angeles, and depends on where you are in San Diego, we are fortunate to have a lot of green space, or a lot more green space in San Diego. And so I was exposed to the local canyon. My family, my father is not Mexican. My father grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then in Roswell, New Mexico. But he had a love for, he came to San Diego, fell in love with the ocean, and just has a passion for the outdoors. And so sometimes my mom is very reluctant to go on these camping trips, but we always found some time to go into nature. And so this is in the Sierra Nevadas. I believe I'm about 2.5 years old here with my younger brother, or my older brother, Andrew. And so we had a lot, we were fortunate to be able to go camping a lot, either locally or sometimes in the summer, get away a little further. And then I have a younger brother too, who I thought I would throw in the picture so that so even though otherwise he would not be presented here. So I have an older and a younger brother who's about 9 years younger than me. And then growing up, I was fortunate to be able to tap into some leadership opportunities, and I would say to critical thinking skills at an early age. My mom, even though my my dad only spoke English when he met her. My mom said, if you want to speak to your kids, you need to learn Spanish. So my dad loves speaking. So for him, he loves communicating, picked up Spanish, isn't afraid to make mistakes in Spanish too. So he was welcomed by my mom's family. And so I went to a Spanish immersion elementary school, Longfellow Elementary, in here in San Diego. And as part of that too, I tapped into a Girl Scout program. So started as a Brownie Girl Scout. I know Anne Marie was also a Girl Scout, and was in Girl Scouts. A lot of people are usually exposed to Girl Scouts when they're in elementary school and kind of fizzle out. But I was involved in Girl Scouts through high school, and I feel like at the middle and high school ages, that's really the part where you move beyond the arts and crafts and get to do things like going camping or maybe canoeing. In some cases, I know my brother on the Boy Scout and did a lot of backpacking. But Girl Scouts in and of itself is a wonderful leadership opportunity, really girl first oriented and moving girls towards those leadership opportunities and kind of leadership skills. And locally in the area, I'm going to give a shout out to Irene Barajas, who's a Girl Scout troop leader in San Isidro and has done a lot with the refuges in particular. And this, I was really fortunate to have one of the probably most active Girl Scout leaders in San Diego County. She's still involved in Girl Scouting, and Judy Pritchett. So very fortunate to have her in my life. And then also to, as I was older, to contribute to the Gold Award Committee and overseeing opportunities for leadership for young women. When I was in middle school or junior high at the time, one of the programs that I had an opportunity, so one of the main reasons I participated in the science fair, honestly, was to be able to have an opportunity to go to Yosemite. And so I was able to do that 2 years and be able to spend a week long there and learn about the geology of the park, the natural history of the park. And it was a great opportunity. And it was, I would say, probably the first time where I recognized, like, hey, people do this. These people who are leading these groups, people do this as a career. And I thought, oh, wow, wouldn't that be great? And I'd love to be able to expose youth to the outdoors. So that's why I included this picture in here. And then just kind of further critical thinking skills. I was fortunate to go to San Diego High School, which has an international baccalaureate program, and kind of exposed to kind of that greater critical thinking. They have theory of knowledge class, which kind of asks you to question, what does it mean for something to be true? What is truth? And kind of spins off from there. If you participate in the exams, they are graded not just locally like the AP program are, but actually all around the world. So you don't know who's reading your essay, and you need to be able to back it up with all those facts, because you don't know what their background is and how they might be taking it. And so those really prepared me for college. And that's my next slide. I went to, as Jorge mentioned, I'm a banana slug. I went to University of California at Santa Cruz, and this is a great opportunity for me I knew I was interested in the outdoors. I actually did go visit UC Santa Barbara and was considering Santa Barbara, and it's a great location. It's right on the coast, but it was all concrete. And I just loved that Santa Cruz you were in a redwood forest and you could see the coast in the distance. And so it just seemed like the perfect learning environment for me. So while I was there, it's divided into, at the time there were 8 colleges. Now we're up to at least 10, 11. And I was part of Oaks College, which is a multicultural college and known also for bringing in diverse ways of thought. And there were certain books like Howard Zinn as an author that some of my friends were taking in their required English course. And that was actually a book that I was exposed to in high school through my US or History of the Americas class. It wasn't US history, it was History of the Americas. And so it really provided me a great opportunity. And it also allowed me to not only explore, be in this great natural environment, but also to explore my Latinidad and to take classes like Chicano cultural history or Latinos in the media. And this is a picture at Oaks College. We were fortunate to have Dolores Huerta from the United Farm Workers come and speak to us. Actually, my dorm was Casa Huerta. So that was a great opportunity. Here I am with Dolores Huerta to hear from her and the United Farm Workers movement and the struggle and some of the things that they're still involved with today. And then, as I mentioned, not only exploring and taking classes, I would say Nancy mentioned taking those general education classes and really using that as an opportunity to tap into different experiences and see, well, what is it that I enjoy learning about? And so using those. And for me, I knew I was interested in environmental studies. So that was my major. And as part of my senior year of environmental studies, I was fortunate to do what's called natural history field quarter, where all of our class was essentially outdoors. We traveled to the University of California has a system of reserves, field reserves. And so we traveled to 4 reserves in the state of California, studying the natural history, some of the management issues, the botany, right, of the area. And so that was a wonderful course to kind of tie up my environmental studies and kind of leave me thirsting for more. And when I was at Santa Cruz, I had a professor who actually had come from Tijuana, San Diego region, and recommended actually the Tijuana Estuary. And I asked him, oh, have some time off that I have a quarter that I can take off and I would like to go back to San Diego. What do you recommend? And so he recommended the Natural History Museum and the Tijuana Estuary. And so I was an intern at the Tijuana Estuary for a quarter, and that's how I kind of got my foot in the door. And so when I first started at the Tijuana Estuary, I started in what was as a coastal decision maker workshop coordinator. So that was prior to our coastal training program becoming an official program of the research reserve system. And then eventually made my way into education. I was really passionate, as you can tell from the Yosemite Institute, that idea of environmental interpretation and connecting youth to the outdoors. And so one of the things, so led school programs along with Anne Marie and Maria, but also we had a junior ranger program. And so it was always really fun to try to incorporate any of our monitoring programs and kind of bring that down to, well, especially elementary school age when we could, but in the middle school and high school programs. But so this is a picture of us doing sand crab monitoring with Imperial Beach Pier in the background. And then the other photo is, it's always one of the nice things about working out in nature is you never know if you're gonna, like Jorge found a blue grosbeak the other day or a king snake. And one of the days when we were out monitoring at one of the other marshes, we came across a sea hare. So picture with the sea hare out doing some monitoring. And then can't leave out the vegetation monitoring. So that's always a good opportunity to get out in the field, take volunteers with us as well. And to get an assessment of the health of the estuary and what's out there. A lot of times, you know, it's a bigger picture than just the water quality, but we need to know also how the plants and the animals are reacting to the ecosystem as well. And then finally, so then I made a jump about 4 years ago from the education program and jumped over to kind of stewardship and administration. And I'm currently working on environmental compliance. So for a large restoration project called the Nelson Sloan Quarry Restoration and Beneficial Reuse of Sediment Project. And so a lot of times people don't realize is that when you want to do large wetland restoration or any restoration, there are documents that go along with that. And it was part of my environmental studies training at Santa Cruz, but wasn't necessarily my main focus. So now I'm getting an opportunity to work towards those moving forward, those larger restoration projects, which is really amazing because when I first started at the estuary, our model marsh, our 20-acre restoration project had just opened in 2000. So I got to see the beginnings of that. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how our restoration projects evolve and take their own shape once the environmental compliance is done for those. But I just wanted to plug, opportunities for leadership and, seeing yourself out in the field as a youth and seeing people reflected, people that look like you and reflected gives you that sense of like, wait, I can do this. And so that's a really huge thing. And so yeah, I'll end there and then take any questions or interested in talking to Nancy a little bit back and forth. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Lorena. So a big round of applause to the both of you. Thank you for sharing your story. And I think it's interesting that both of you have family history from Michoacan. So again, so as part of Latino Conservation Week, we're highlighting 2 Latinas that are doing great work at the reserve. Anne-Marie, do you have anything to add at this point, or you want to move forward with questions?
No, I just want to thank you so much for both of you for sharing your story. I think they're really great stories and really great lessons. And I'm glad that both of you were able to avail yourself to different enrichment that really led you to where you are today. And I'm so glad that Nancy is our Margaret Davidson Fellow, and she's able to really share her knowledge and her kind of point of view, her worldview with us. I think that's made a huge difference, and it's helping us with our diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice work here too, which is really important initiative, all national estuarine research reserves wide. So I just have a question that I want to ask, like, what does equity mean? If anyone wants to answer, what does equity mean to you? Because I think it's really great that I don't know, is like Nancy said, are you the exception? Are there more people with your background that are in this field? What does equity mean to you? Is it an equitable field, or do you have obstacles? Is anyone willing to talk about that?
Nancy, you can jump in, but yeah, I would just say kind of in general, this idea of like reflecting diversity throughout the STEM, and particularly we're talking about STEM, through the STEM field, and kind of breaking down those barriers, trying to create that sort of equal playing field for all,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it can even go back to just being exposed to the outdoors. Like, I didn't have that experience growing up, and so it would have been really cool to have like some sort of resources or programs that would have like gave transportation to experience these like the outdoors for the first time, things like that. I think like transportation being a big barrier, thinking like that, and like why are these barriers here? What can we do to best break them down, and so that we could create the systemic shift needed to inspire other environmental stewards who could be really passionate about the environment. They're just not exposed to it for whatever reason, maybe low income or just like distance and other things that we need culturally to think about. And so it's really important to like go the extra mile to reach out these audiences that we historically haven't been reaching, so that we could inspire like the next generation of environmental stewards.
That's great. And let's luckily, I think things are happening more and more and more. And we even had like a Leaders for Outdoor Equity class with a lot of environmental professionals. And we remember we have the Urban Wildlife Conservation Program with the Fish and Wildlife Service, which is bringing all kinds of people to refuges. We have 2 state park nonprofits. We have the California State Park Foundation and Parks California. Both are funding programs. Both are really supporting the work. Parks California supported our Divided Together podcast, which is talking about stories related to the border of really tri-national stories of Kumeyaay, Mexico, and United States. So luckily it's happening more and more. It looks like Jorge has a question for our guests. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Anne-Marie. So kind of a softball question, but to the both of you, what is your favorite species at the estuary?
Longjaw mudsucker.
Long-jawed mudsucker. So if you were going to imitate a long-jawed mudsucker, you have to put out your lower jaw. It's not a pretty fish, but why do you like it so much, Lorena?
They are a superhero of the estuarine environment. They can live out of the water in mud for a long time, but just because they're like slippery and slimy, maybe it's a banana slug thing. I don't know. Yeah.
What about you, Nancy?
Oh man, I think I'm just partial to it because like any like mussel species, just because that's really like the star of like my project that I'm working on within the estuary. We're using them to detect the water quality in the area, so I'm just partial to those now.
Invertebrates, very good.
One thing too that I thought of as we were talking, that's a unique opportunity, especially at the Tijuana Estuary in particular. I mean, in San Diego, but San Diego is really big, and unless you're close to the border, it's really easy to forget, what's going on, and you don't necessarily have that interaction. But being able to work in the Tijuana River watershed as a whole has been very impactful, and to meet different people from Ensenada, Tecate, and Tijuana, be able to work with them and to see what ecological programs exist in Mexico and how they're fighting to make sure that things are conserved in those areas too, has been really impactful and really inspirational.
That's a good point. I think it's about time to wrap up. Does anyone want, why don't we give each of the guests parting words on either advice, career advice, or anything? Go ahead. We'll start with Nancy.
Oh my gosh, was not prepared for this, but I think the first thing is just like to keep an open mind and also like give back to the community. I feel like as now that I'm in this like really fortunate position, I'd always take any opportunity that I can to like inspire others and like make sure that like they know that like the door is open with me, like if they need any sort of like resources, I don't know, whatever help that they may need, that I'll do my best to get there or find the person that they need to get to that. And I think that's just a really important thing to keep in mind, to just like not forget where you're coming from and just being grateful to keep moving forward and to pave the way for others to have like the same success and experiences.
Nice, thank you. Lorena?
Yeah, I think definitely paying it forward. And like I said, I was fortunate to have, or find mentors who were positive and led me, in a direction, or who I could, maybe go to or look up at. So I think looking, for those mentors, and then now trying to be a mentor as well. And then also just want to put in a plug for volunteering and interning is huge. If you might think you like something and you go into college thinking like, this is going to be my degree, and you take a class and maybe it wasn't right, or you have an opportunity to do an internship and kind of get more of a behind the scenes look at something. And either you find out it's not for you, or you find out connections that could help jumpstart your career. So I think that's really important.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much again to Lorena, Warner-Lara, and Nancy Torres. That's it for this special edition of Lunchtime Live. And remember, there's going to be events in San Diego County through the 24th. So look up Latino Conservation Week, and there's all series, a lot of our partners and other people that we work together with are going to be hosting events throughout the rest of the week. So take care, everybody.